Chapter 9. Charlie jumped when Jeff's silhouette appeared in the archway. For a second, he thought it was the Ken doll. "Been here long?" Charlie took a breath. "Just sat down a minute ago." He watched Jeff for signs of aggression. "Let's find some common ground today." Jeff took off his coat and hung it on the back of his chair. "And it's turned off?" "Yep." Charlie felt like a guilty junior high schooler being asked if he'd been smoking. "So what you been... Can I get you gentlemen something to drink?" Larry was an attentive and clever waiter and student who had waited on them every week over the past 2 months. Charlie thought he was just enthusiastic enough to be amusing. The dancing OTAT Donald Duck on his neck froze whenever he took orders. Jeff said, "What's on tap?" Beggars hadn't printed menus for more than 15 years. As a really, Jeff needed someone to read the items to him. Larry read from his ice, and Jeff picked a locally brewed black and tan. Larry turned to Charlie. The usual. Trying to grease the coming conversation with Jeff, Charlie told Larry, "Did you know Jeff is a certified beer taster and famous author on home brewing?" "Really? Who do you ag for?" Larry was referring to aggregating, where humans sometimes compiled and edited computer-generated information and stories and added their own comments. No, he really writes. Well, used to write, for magazines, back when they were printed on paper. Paper? Damn. I wanted to major in writing, but they told me I wouldn't be able to make a living at it. Charlie said, "Nobody will be able to make a living at much of anything in about 10 years. He saw Jeff start to react, so he stopped. Fear rising, he picked at the edge of his fingernail. Jeff's eyes chided. "Larry, there will always be a place for creativity no matter where these damn computers take us. Study writing if you want. Don't let anybody tell you differently." "So what magazine you write for?" The most popular one was Brew Your Own. Charlie watched as Larry flicked, likely searching for Jeff Martin and Brew Your Own. "Got it." Larry reached into his ice with both hands, making the motions of picking up and opening a magazine. A couple more flicks and he said, "There you are. Got a picture and everything." He pulled his hands up near his face. "Geez, these old things smell so great. Why did they ever die out?" Jeff scowled. "Exactly. Why? You want the long story?" Hoping to avoid the tirade, Charlie said, "Are we taking too much of your time, Larry?" "Nah, traffic's always updated right here." He pointed to his eyes. "It's never too busy this time on Thursday." Turning to Jeff, he said, "So you actually wrote all this stuff on your own? Didn't you have a PA or anything?" "We had spelling and grammar checking software, but most of the time I turned them off." "Man, I admire you guys. It was probably like being one of the pilgrims settling the country without power tools." "Yeah, something like that." Jeff laughed like he was out of practice. "Charlie used to write too." "Oh no, my junk wasn't even in the same galaxy. Jeff wrote automotive too and took a lot of his own photos. He took the picture of that wine barrel right there." Charlie pointed to the wall. "Trust me, Larry, he was the best." "I could see that. I'll check out the automotive later, but right now I'm going after your drinks." He turned and dashed off in the direction of the bar. When Jeff was 75, he had taken Ogre's age reversal until his body was age 32. Since giving up high tech 3 years ago, he'd been aging normally again. For someone who had no tea at all, Jeff was in excellent shape. He worked out regularly, which took a special kind of discipline since health clubs were extinct, and he only ate what he needed to maintain his weight. Jeff tapped his forehead. Where was I? Oh yeah, what you been up to this week?" Charlie realized he'd been holding his body tense and rolled his head and shoulders to loosen up. "Mostly programming, but I did the snowboard thing for the investors this morning, and I started writing a new song on the way back." Skip Koslowski, keep it upbeat. "I'd ask how the snowboarding went, but I see you're still in one piece." Doesn't sound like he had anything to do with the Ken doll. "It was a blast using Snowball's skills. He's a wizard. Haven't you done some snowboarding?" "No, since I was diagnosed with Renaud's disease back in the 90s. He held out his hands with their yellow-white waxen fingers. "Shuts down the blood vessels and is worse when it's cold." Charlie knew a couple of months of Ogre would fix it, but he tried not to let annoyance show on his face. Sure, I forgot. God, I can't remember shit without N. I've known that for 40 years. And what's happening over at the school?" "Fewer live students all the time, and if N-hanced takes off, the university will disappear." Jeff's face clouded. You know, I'd stop you in that fucking thing if I could. Here it comes. Charlie's eyes darted anxiously. He imagined Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival playing. The two of them were sailing into the stormy seas where they'd spent so much time during the past months. Most of Jeff's work dried up in the late 00s when print went into decline. He finally stumbled into a job as a writing professor at the university. Each change in his life hacked off another piece of his self-respect, but lately he blamed most everything on N-hanced. Now the computers do most of the writing. I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth. I have to write for other professors, most of them kids who wouldn't know a noun if it bit them on the ass. How do they get those jobs? There's this one guy. When I'm done writing for the idiot, he's winning fucking awards, and I'm the one on the verge of losing my job. Where's the justice? Seems like his normal grouchy self. If I had N going, I'd make him laugh. But this, Charlie almost shook his head. Larry came back with their drinks. Jeff closed his eyes and sipped the black and tan, drawing in some air to pull the fragrances back into his olfactory system. Charlie loaded his coffee with sugar and cream. He noticed Larry's astonishment. It tastes like hot chocolate. Well, why not order hot chocolate then? Free refills. Charlie's eyes twinkled. Larry chuckled. Jeff opened his eyes. Tell Gabe it's perfect. Got it. You guys want the usual? Jeff nodded. Huevos rancheros. Hot beans, runny eggs with salsa, sour cream, and extra guacamole on the side. Just like in the computer. If you can trust the computer. Got it. Larry gave a little salute and headed off to the kitchen. Jeff picked up where he'd left off. I don't know what I'm going to do if I lose that job. I saved quite a bit, but it doesn't make up for all those years earning next to nothing. And we live so much longer now, I doubt I'll have enough to make it till I'm 120. Probably have to take an early die out. It won't get that bad. Cost of living is supposed to plummet again. They're saying food, clothing, and shelter will cost so little in the next 10 years your money will last till you're physically 80. That's 130 real. Yeah, and then I suppose you think I'm going to have my brain scanned and live in an android body after that. I don't trust that shit any more than I do having T-bots running around inside my balls. Charlie knew this was a place to keep quiet, but he doubted he'd be able to. Jeff was so angry about tech, he'd rather die than change. The irony was that Jeff had always been an early adopter. It was part of the glue of their friendship. Charlie liked tech, but he waited for the second generation of anything new. But Jeff, he'd camp out on store sidewalks in order to own serial number one of every new gadget. The way Charlie saw it, what happened was Jeff's own fault. Now he was a card-carrying Luddite with a boatload of animosity toward anything remotely high-tech. And if Charlie represented anything these days, it was high-tech. Charlie could feel the blood rising in his face. T-bots inside your balls, indeed. He leaned forward to tell Jeff off when Larry returned with their lunch. Fight interrupt us. But Charlie knew it wouldn't last. Lately, it never did.